Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by. Welcome to the 2017 WNBA Pre-Draft Media Conference Call. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Later, we will conduct a question-and-answer session, and instructions will be given at that time. If you should require assistance during the call, you may press star followed by 0, and an operator will assist you offline. At this time, we'll turn the conference over to your host, Mr. Ron Howard. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Tony. And we'd like to welcome into the call our 4 WNBA coaches, a couple of first-time head coaches with us, Vickie Johnson with San Antonio, Amber Stocks with Chicago. Welcome, ladies. And also with us, Fred Williams from the Dallas Wings and defending WNBA champion head coach Brian Agler with Los Angeles Sparks. And Tony, we'll go right to questions.
Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen on the phone lines, you may queue up for your questions by pressing star followed by 1 at this time. Once again, for your questions, you may place yourselves in queue by pressing star followed by 1. And please allow just a few moments as questioners are queuing up. And we'll take our first question from Michelle Vopel with ESPN.com. Please go ahead.
Yeah, if I could ask Coach Williams first question. Fred, you've got 3 picks in the first round, and I'm just wondering how big a factor do you feel like the draft can be for your team?
I think it could be a big factor for us. I think having, the 3rd, 4th, and 10th pick, there'll be a variety of talent that we could select from, from a big to a small guard, or so we have some advantages there that I think we put ourselves in that position that was pretty much set for us before the season started and after last season, how we can position ourselves to get some young talent. So having 3 picks, I think will be beneficial for us here during the upcoming training camp and hopefully for our season.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question will come from Josh Walfish with the Daily News. Please go ahead.
Excuse me. Hello, everybody. I guess for any of the coaches, how do you guys evaluate a mid-major prospect differently than you would a prospect from one of the Power 5 for Connecticut?
Brian, you want to take that one first?
Yeah, I'll take it. You try to watch them play against the toughest competition on their schedule, and you have to evaluate how they produce against, just like anything else, the best talent that you can see. It is a major leap, not just for anybody from the mid-majors, but from anybody coming in from any of the BCS schools to the WNBA. And I think the best way to equate that is this: when someone comes from high school to the college ranks, they're playing and competing against people that are basically between 18 and 22 years old. Then they come to from college into the WNBA, and now they're competing against people that range from 20 years old all the way up into their mid-30s with just a tremendous amount of experience. So it's tough for everybody to make a team. In fact, I think this is a good draft, but I also think this is a draft where some first-round picks could get cut, just because it is difficult. But we've seen people come in, Becky Hammond being one of them. We've seen people come in from mid-majors and become all-stars. So it's not out of the realm. And, you see so many players now in the college ranks transferring for a variety of reasons. So good players, talented players end up at different situations in college. So it's doable without question, but it's difficult to make a roster no matter where you're coming from.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question will come from Phil Thompson with the Chicago Tribune. Please go ahead.
Hello, thank you. My question is for Coach Stocks and Coach Johnson. For both of you, I want to know if you're entertaining trades, and also wanted to get your thoughts about Kelsey Plum as well as Nia Coffey.
Phil, this is Amber.
Thank you for the question. You know, I'll say it's wise to always keep your options open. And so, you know, as the process draws nearer and nearer, you know, to the 13th, keeping, you know, just keeping the board open, keeping options open. We're continuing to evaluate, you know, players on all different levels, and we're continuing to evaluate all different types of options, and some of those may include potential trades.
Okay, and if I could get your thought about Nia Coffey and Kelsey Plum.
Well, obviously, both Nia Coffey and Kelsey Plum are exceptional talent. They do so many things very well. You know, the obvious one is for the basketball. They move well without the ball. They're both talented defenders. They move their feet, have great footwork. And then the intangible, you know, as Coach Agler just mentioned, there's such a big leap from college to the pros. And a lot of what will allow players to be successful at our level is their mentality and their mental approach to the game and their mental toughness. Those two young ladies so far have displayed that they have that intangible mental toughness that should give them a good shot to not only make a roster, but, you know, have a solid career if they can maintain that mental toughness.
Thank you.
Thank you. As a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, you may queue up for questions by pressing star followed by 1. Again, star 1. Next in queue is Jeff Metcalf with the Arizona Republic. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I guess this is for whichever of you coaches would like to take this. I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are on Chantel Osahar and Sydney Weiss.
Yes.
I want to hear Vickie speak.
All right, Vickie, you're up.
I think those are all three of those players have the potential of playing great, good WNBA players. I think it's going to take a year or two for them to develop into a WNBA player, but I think they have the potential of being a good pick this draft.
Brian, you want to take that one as well? And then we'll take the next question.
I'll take it. Osahar obviously came on the scene last year when they made their run to the Final Four. Really a unique type of player with her ability to shoot the three-point shot. I think that skill right there sort of opened up the eyes to her potential. You know, she's probably, if we're all honest now, she's probably 5'11" to 6 foot. But she has tremendous quick hands, and she's got great strength, and she has tremendous instincts for the game. But her uncanny ability to hit the three-point shot is what's probably going to give her a legitimate shot of making a team. Sydney is got great size for a point guard. She played a really good program there. A program she was a big part of in regards to rising to the top of the Pac-12. Excellent three-point shooter. Really good team player. I think with Sydney, how she can defend in this league is probably going to determine her longevity. Just because I think this was mentioned before, you know, this league is quick, fast, and strong. Something those players aren't used to. So how they can adjust that way is going to be very important. And I think for Chantel, the same thing, her ability to get up and down the floor. I watched her play defense a lot in college, and she was a factor rebounding. I think one game she had 30 rebounds. But I think people have to remember that in our league, the lane is wider, and there's a defense in 3 seconds. And so she will be put on the move defensively. And so how she'll be able to keep people in front of her and keep people off the glass will be very important. Same thing with Sydney. Will she be able to keep people in front of her? Both those people have really good offensive instincts and skill. So it'll be the other intangible things and the defensive things that will determine their longevity and their abilities.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question in queue will come from Toomer Langer with Daily Orange. Please go ahead.
Hi, this could be for any of the coaches. I'm just wondering what you guys see from Brittany Sykes. Obviously, she thought about declaring for the draft last year, came back to school, and had a good season. So what growth do you see from her from last year to this year, and how she projects to the WNBA?
Fred, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. I think, when a player has an opportunity to refine their skills for another year, that helped her a great deal to put her in a position for this year. And, the ability for her to, hit shots from the outside and her versatility as a perimeter player is really going to show itself in training camp. I think she has an athletic talent, and I think she will exploit that athletic talent and challenge someone on someone's roster. So she's a player that really intrigues a lot of the scouts and a lot of the coaches within the league.
Thank you, Fred. Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just quickly, I guess between her and I guess her backcourt mate, Alexis Peterson, I guess if you guys can share who projects better at the WNBA level.
Amber, you want to take that one?
Sure. I mean, obviously they're both extremely talented, and they have unique attributes, both of them. So on one hand, yes, they're both perimeter players, and they both play on the ball very well, but they're a little bit apples and oranges as far as projecting which one will play better in this league. A lot of that's going to be determined by which roster they're on. There's a lot of great players who have success because they're at the right place at the right time, and it's the perfect fit roster-wise. And likewise, there's other players who maybe have just as much, if not more, talent in certain areas, but the pieces of the puzzle don't fall their way, so to speak, just because of the timing and where they happen to land as far as training camp is concerned. So Alexis Peterson, Brittany Sykes, both extremely talented. I think they can both be players that develop in this league, and a lot will be determined by just, kind of where they fall.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next in queue is Adam Grossbard with the Dallas Morning News. Please go ahead.
Hey, Fred. Hope you're doing well. What do you feel is the most important thing for your team to accomplish in this draft?
I think that what we want to accomplish is to find the players that could fulfill our need, on our defensive end, on the structure of our defensive end. And then the other is we're looking at players who are really pro-ready, to come on in and really help us right away. I think that's very important. I don't think we want to look at players to, kind of wait and sit on them a little bit. But our thing is, and for me, is that I like to, have a team that's have a lot of speed and a lot of height and a lot of depth. And I think we have some of that process with some of the veteran players we have now. And, bringing in some fresh legs into our team will most definitely help us within this draft. I think it's still a deep draft, even though some of the juniors that didn't come in, but I think it's still a deep draft for, especially in that first and second round, to really get some good quality players.
Thanks, Fred.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Our next question will come from Jessica Morgan with the Raleigh News. Please go ahead.
Hi, Brian, this is for you. I wanted to know, you have two players from Duke, Alana Beer, Chelsea Gray. kind of what they added, obviously, to last year's championship and what you're looking for from them going into this season?
Well, first of all, Elena Beard is a top-notch individual, leader, and just her work ethic, her leadership, how she communicates with her teammates, her persistence. You know, I know she didn't get Defensive Player of the Year last year, but she could have. I mean, she was right there. How she impacted the game defensively was just very unique. I mean, her ball pressure and her ability to be disruptive off the ball really won some games for us. And of course, you know, she was very influential in our championship, you know, hitting a game winner in game one, and how she guarded multiple different types of players throughout the playoffs and in the championship. Really a great asset. And I expect her to be the same way this year. You know, one thing about Elena is she's a quality person, and she takes great care of herself physically. And when you talk about how some of these veteran players can influence these younger players coming in the draft, that's one way. They can learn, and Elena's really good at this, talking to the younger players about how to take care of themselves, on how to train, how to eat correctly. So she influences our team that way, and she really influences Chelsea. Chelsea's playing extremely well in Turkey right now. Her team's in the Euro Cup Championship. I was hard on Chelsea last year, very hard, and we were fortunate enough to get her in a trade, and that trade occurred on draft day a year ago, and we challenged her on a daily basis. She didn't play a whole lot for us early in the year, but she never complained. She just stayed with it. She worked hard, kept a great attitude. There was one game even late in the year that she didn't even get in. And I texted her after the game, and I said, Chelsea, you know, hang in there. I didn't forget about you. I apologize for not getting in the game, but be ready for the next one. And her response to me was, hey, Coach, I'm just glad we won, and I'll be ready whenever you ask me. And that's the kind of person that she was. And then when we asked her to be ready in the championship, she delivered. And she's got a great future ahead of us, ahead of herself for us. And I only look for her to keep maturing and developing as a player. Great individual, just like Elena as well.
Okay. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you. The next question will come from Tony Adami with CBS Sports. Please go ahead.
Hey, yeah, this is for Fred or anyone else who wants to speak on it. I wanted to ask about Baylor's Alexis Jones. I know that you were talking about you wanted players that were ready for the pros. She's been in college, obviously, 5 years, but I want to know what you think of her, and if you think those injuries might be a little bit of a concern for pro teams, because she's had, you know, the ACL and the microfracture, and obviously was hurt this year.
Hey, Vickie, let's have you take that one, and then we'll follow up with Fred.
I think Alexis Jones is ready for the WNBA. I think that she has done all she can possibly do on the college level. Her ability to score the basketball and also transition to the one, I think, is very important in the WNBA, and also able to create her own shot and create for her teammates. I think she'll be a great pro. I think that I'll still say that it will take her a year or two to understand the WNBA and the speed of the game, and I think she'll do fine.
Thank you, Fred. You want to jump in there as well?
Yeah, you know, I echo what Vickie has said about Jones. Some of the things that intrigue me about her is her, you know, she's cool under pressure. She's really a pressure shooter, deep outside. Shooting the basketball. She's a a guard that's always gotten better and better each year. And you know, people lay on the fact that, you know, with her injury and how she you know, has an injury or had an injury, she came back and played, you know, during the NCAAs and really played, you know, pretty well. You know, she's pro ready, and I think she will give a tremendous challenge to anybody's roster on the floor because of her shooting range, her ability to play the 1 and the 2 slot, and also her ability to also put on a lot of pressure and to push the basketball.
Thank you.
All right, we have 2 more questions, and then we will excuse the coaches and bring in our players.
Thank you. Next in queue is Jordan Culper with Tallahassee Democrats. Please go ahead.
Hi, coaches. I'm going to direct this question just at Vickie because right now San Antonio, you guys have 2 Florida State players on your training camp roster, so I'm just curious if you have any other Florida State players on your radar for seniors coming out of this year's class, and in particular Leticia Romero. What have you seen from Florida State's guards?
To be honest, our options are open. We are evaluating at the 1 position and at the 5 position. So it's very important that we pick the right players because those players are our future. Yeah, we are looking at Florida State players, but that's all I can tell you.
Thank you. Can I answer that?
Sure.
Romero, obviously, and Brown both have had really good careers there. And Romero is unique because she's international. She's got a different type of experience playing on a team. I know she didn't play a whole lot in the Olympics, but she was on that roster, and she has international experience playing for the national team. And those kinds of experiences really benefit people coming into the WNBA. They're a little bit more mature because they played against that type of caliber player before, so they're not shocked when they come in there, and they understand the quickness and the strength a little bit more. I think that for Brown, and I know they sort of flipped positions a little bit over the last couple of years. They put Brown more on the ball and Romero off the ball a little bit more. But I think it benefits both because they have experience playing both the 1 and 2. Brown's athletic. Probably her biggest asset is her ability to go off the dribble. It's going to be, I think both of them will be in a training camp. They'll both probably get drafted. It's hard to say where they go. I know people try to pigeonhole and go late first round, early second, all that, but with it's really difficult to see how that's going to play out with those 2. But I think they'll both be in training camps, whether through the draft or free agency, and then it'll be a dogfight for them to make a roster. Like most people, there are going to be very few guarantees coming in terms of making a team in this draft. There will be people that will make teams. There'll be probably even a select few that might even start for a team if they need that. But once you get in training camp, it doesn't matter if you're drafted in the first round or if you're drafted or you're taken as a free agent after the draft. Once everybody gets in there, it's a competition, and then people get their opportunities and let the thing play out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question will come from Charles Hellman with the Minnesota Spokesman Recorder. Please go ahead.
Yeah, this is for any coach that wants to speak on this. Just I know you're not going to disclose your hands, so I don't want you to try to. But just talk about, is there any little thing about this draft that intrigues any of you that you see that stands out that hasn't been talked about? They talk about the draft being guard heavy. They talk about, maybe not a star coming out, but just little things that you want to speak on about this draft that impresses you as coaches this year.
All right, Amber, you want to take that one? This is your first go-round?
Sure. Just kind of seeing the forest through the trees. 2 things that I would say stand out are just the breadth of shooters at multiple positions that this draft offers. Not only the perimeter players, but the bigs as well are shooting very impressive, steady, consistent percentages beyond the 3-point line. And that's a tribute to how hard players are working now. On the flip side, that doesn't necessarily mean that we have a bunch of finesse players out there. And so the players that are scoring the ball well beyond the three-point line, whether it be a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 position player, are also attacking the rebounds and getting to the free throw line. So that's one thing that stands out as impressive kind of across the board with this draft class. And then secondly, because a lot of these players, even the ones that score a lot of points, for example, Alexis Peterson and Brittany Sykes, they score a lot of points for their teams, but they also have to play complementary roles on their team. And the way that across the board these players seem to move without the ball, set good screens, they're not just scoring heavy, but they're playing smart basketball, offensively and defensively. I think that's one thing that stands out throughout all of the players we're looking at, or a big chunk of the players that have caught our eye.
Thank you, Amber. And to our coaches, Brian, Vickie, Amber, Fred, thank you so much for joining us. We wish you all the best of luck next Thursday. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Ron.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
And to our media, stay with us. We're going to move to our players momentarily. We will have with us Nia Coffey, forward from Northwestern, Alexis Jones, guard from Baylor, and Shatori Walker-Kimbrough from the University of Maryland. Thanks for hanging with us, everybody.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You will hear music briefly until we reconvene. Thank you very much.